everyone, it's Melissa, and this is the first in my I've Never Read series where I will be diving into new books, authors, and genres that I've never read before. I've decided to start this series by reading graphic novels because there's just such a wide variety, different genres, different art styles, and it's just a huge area that I have not read from before. So I've come up with some different categories based on my own reading tastes, but also on things I want to explore. So I'm going to be sharing my TBR with you, but I'm also looking for recommendations of your favorite graphic novels, whether or not they fall into these categories. Now I'm looking at this pile of graphic novels, and there's also a bunch that I just couldn't get my hands on for this video, and this TBR is probably way too ambitious. But if I don't get to everything this time around, I'll probably get to these later on, presuming graphic novels are a format that I end up enjoying. So my first category is memoir. Memoir is a genre that I enjoy reading as it is, and I think it feels like the graphic novel format will lend itself really well to like painting the picture of someone's life story. And when I was doing a little bit of research looking into different recommendations for graphic novels, there are a lot of memoirs that are usually included in like best graphic novels lists. So I have 4 different graphic novels under the memoir category, and I'm definitely not going to get to all of them, but here are the ones that really jumped out at me that I think I would probably enjoy. So the first one is Marbles by Ellen Forney, and this is her story of dealing with mania, depression, and it's all about her journey with her mental health. And the art style looks really simple and straightforward, so I think the narrative is going to take the bigger focus from what I can tell just flipping through it, but we'll see what my thoughts are after I've read it. The second memoir on my list is Persepolis by Marjane Satrapi. This is the author's story of growing up in Iran during the Islamic Revolution. That's really all I know about this book. It was, at the very least, nominated for an Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film, but I also believe it won. Don't quote me on that, but regardless, it's supposed to be very, very good, so this one's definitely up there at the top of my list. Another memoir that I would like to read is Dancing at the Pity Party by Tyler Fetter. I couldn't find a copy anywhere to buy or at my library, which my library has now opened again with a lot of restrictions, but it's been really good to get back at my library. But they didn't have a copy, and I couldn't find it at any of my local bookshops either, but I'm going to keep my eye out for it. So this graphic novel, I don't think it's so much a memoir as it is the author's reflections on dealing with the loss of her mother, and grief and loss is a theme that I really gravitate towards. So when I saw this graphic novel, it really struck me as one that I think I would really enjoy. The next one in the memoir category is also not really quite a memoir. It's Mouse by Art Spiegelman. And again, it's not really a memoir, but it's more so him telling his father's story as a Jewish person who survived the Holocaust. And it's illustrated with the Jewish people as mice and the Nazis as cats. And it just looks like a really interesting book. And it is on basically every single top graphic novels of all time list that I was able to find. So it's really highly regarded. So I'm definitely wanting to pick this up. Again, I couldn't find it locally where I am, but I'm going to keep my eye out for it. My library does have it, but it's checked out, so I'm going to put a hold on it, and hopefully I'll get my hands on this graphic novel sometime during July. So my next category is coming of age. Coming of age stories are something that I gravitate to, and I thought this would also be a good opportunity to pick up a young adult graphic novel. Not that all coming of age stories are young adult, but I don't read a lot of young adult novels. Not for any specific reason, I just haven't. So I would like to read at least one. So I was able to find one at my local library, but if you have any other suggestions for coming of age stories in graphic novel format, I would love to hear them. This one is called Aya, and it is written by Marguerite Abouet and illustrated by Clément Oubrerie. And this is not quite autobiographical, but it does, the author does pull from her experiences growing up in Côte d'Ivoire, in Western Africa. And I think she has gone on record saying that while it's not strictly about her life, she does pull characters from people that she knew growing up in Côte d'Ivoire. And this is set during the 1970s, and it deals with a lot of social issues, especially around gender and class. So it sounds like something that is right up my alley. So my next category is noir/detective. I love a good detective story. I especially love the noir atmosphere. I love books set in the 20s and 30s. I'm a huge fan of detective mystery writer Dashiell Hammett, and I thought graphic novels might be a good way to explore kind of like that, the visual atmosphere of noir. So there are two graphic novels that I found that I think fit into this category, but I don't have my hands on them yet. One I can't find, one I've ordered from a local bookstore, it just hasn't arrived yet. So the first is Abbott, and this is written by Saladin Ahmed, and art is by Sami Kivela. And I'm not actually entirely sure if this qualifies as noir, but based on like the cover art and the brief description, it sounded to me a bit like noir, at the very least detective or crime-esque. So it follows this reporter in 1970s Detroit, and she is trying to kind of uncover or solve these grisly crimes that have been happening. I believe there is also a supernatural element to this graphic novel, so this is something that very much speaks to me. The other graphic novel that I think would fit in the noir category is Tumor. So this is about a sort of washed up private investigator who is on the case of a missing person. He's recently been diagnosed with a brain tumor, and it is jumbling up his memories of the past with current events. So it follows him as he struggles to untangle this while untangling the mystery of tracking down this missing person. So my next category is fantasy and sci-fi. I really like fantastical elements. I like science fiction, and I know there's like a plethora of graphic novels out there that fit the bill. But there were two that were at my library that I thought looked really interesting. So the first is Saga, and this is written by Brian K. Vaughan and illustrated by Fiona Staples. And this is the story of two soldiers on opposite sides of this like intergalactic war. They fall in love and start a family. I picked this up mostly based on the artwork. I thought it looked really fun, but not silly. And the second one in my fantasy sci-fi category, well, this is more so a mythology, I guess, but I'm kind of counting that as fantasy. The 100 Nights of Hero by Isabel Greenberg. And this I know basically nothing about, but I enjoy mythology and folklore and all that kind of stuff. So without knowing anything else about this, I decided to pick it up. So I have one last graphic novel to share, and it doesn't fit into any of the categories as far as I know, but it just looked really different, and I thought it might be interesting to pick up something that was just very different from anything I've ever read before. And this is Alone by Chaboutet. And what drew me to this is the fact that there are very few words in this. It's not entirely without dialogue. There is some text in it, but it's a pretty thick graphic novel, and most of it is without words. And I thought that was an interesting concept. I'm sure not a new concept. I'm sure there are other graphic novels out there that have few or no words, but having never read graphic novels at all, I thought it would be interesting to pick up one that was very sparse with text and see how that reads to me. I don't really know much about this story. I know it's about someone who's alone, I believe in a lighthouse. So they're on an island by themselves. I don't know if anyone else is there, if they're the lighthouse keeper. Like, I don't know why they're alone at the lighthouse. I'm assuming they're a lighthouse keeper, but basically that's why there's very little dialogue in here, because there's no one for this person to talk to. So I thought that was also an interesting concept. So those are the graphic novels that I plan to read. Well, I plan to read some of those graphic novels during July. I'm definitely not going to get to all of them. However, if you have any favorite graphic novels that you'd like to recommend to me, please leave a comment down below, and I will update you in a few weeks with what I read, what graphic novels I read, and what I thought of them. So as always, thanks so much for watching, and hope everyone's doing really well, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.